Alright, Origins of American Government, Chapter 2, Section 1. The basic concepts of government. Remember, we kind of went over this cute little chart earlier today. Start with Hammurabi's Code. 1750 BC was one of the first known written works about government. That would connect that to the Roman Empire. From the Roman Empire, they influenced the Anglo-Saxon area of England, Scotland, and Ireland. We see England's early political system develop, and from there we see English colonists coming to America. In turn, the colonist ideals influenced what government would be set up in the colonies, and finally, the Constitution was established in 1789. These 6 steps are the most basic points in time that I picked out for you guys to see the transition over time. We get 3 main ideas from English colonists. As they came over the Atlantic, they brought with them some ideas. First and foremost, an ordered government assists with everyday relationships of people. Modern day examples would be the sheriff, which handles law, coroner, which handles autopsies and medical reports, assessor, which is looking at land values and surveying, grand juries, dealing with civil and criminal cases, and counties, which make up different parts of where people live, etc. You then have limited government. Government that is not all-powerful. The government is restricted in what it can and cannot do. Citizens have certain rights that cannot be taken away. As Ronald Reagan famously said, man is not free unless government is limited. And we value limited government very much so in the United States. Unfortunately, right now, many people would argue that our government has grown in size quite a bit. And finally, number 3, representative form of government. The idea that the government should serve the will of the people. We choose the people who are going to make decisions for us. No taxation without representation. There's a picture of the Senate there. Landmark English documents. We have the Magna Carta in 1215. It established fundamental rights such as trial by jury and due process. That the power of the monarchy was not absolute. It also came up with the idea of habeas corpus, which means show me the body. And it's basically saying you can't lock anybody away just because, or not give them a trial by jury. You have to give them due process. They cannot just sit in jail for an extended amount of time without having been sentenced or go through a trial. Then the Petition of Right, which is in 1628, demanded that the king no longer imprison or punish Englishmen or women without a trial by jury. It insisted that the king no longer have the power to declare martial law, and that the king could no longer require homeowners to shelter troops without the homeowners' consent. Furthermore, the king could not tax the people without Parliament's approval. Also, this document challenged the divine right of kings. Both very important. You see the underlined portions there we also include in our Bill of Rights. We see these ideas today. And finally, we have the third, which is the Bill of Rights, 1688. It prohibits standing armies during peacetime, elections to be free, taxation without Parliament's approval is illegal, right to a fair trial, freedom from excessive bail, and cruel and unusual punishment. We see these again in our Bill of Rights, and our title of Bill of Rights wasn't even an original thought. Obviously, they came out with it in 1688, long before 1789. Okay, almost 100 years. The English colonies. We have 13 schools of government to see it transforming. Now, it's important to remember that each colony was established on the basis of a charter, a written grant by the king. Okay, you can't settle and create a colony without a charter. Now, there were a set of royal colonies, and they were subject to the direct control of the crown. And by 1775, there were 8 of them. So, quite a few of the 8, so 8 out of 13 were known as royal colonies. Now, out of these colonies, a pattern developed. A governor served as a colony's chief executive. A council picked by the king served as advisors, which eventually became the upper house of the legislature. And a lower house was established. And how that lower house was filled was with property owners could elect others to represent them, usually the more educated. And this filtered into a bicameral legislature. Bicameral means having a legislature assembly composed of two chambers or houses. We see this in our own Congress today. We have a House of Representatives and a Senate that make up the U.S. Congress. The Senate is the upper house. House of Representatives is the lower. Senate has a fixed number of people for each state, 2. House of Representatives based on population, and California has the most representation in the U.S. Congress at the moment because of the population numbers. Now, you see quick roads there because we're talking about proprietary colonies. These were organized by a proprietor. The king gave a land grant to this individual for the creation of a colony. Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Delaware were considered to fall underneath this category. Maryland and Delaware had a bicameral legislature. Meanwhile, Pennsylvania had a unicameral, one-house legislature, which is kind of cool. And finally, you have the charter colonies. The king granted a charter to the colonial government establishing the rules under which the colony was to be governed. The charters of both Rhode Island and Connecticut granted the colonists significantly more political liberty than other colonies. Now, Rhode Island and Connecticut continued to use their colonial charters as their state constitutions after the American War for Independence. It took them some time to rid themselves of their charters being their state constitutions. So there we've covered the 3 types of government: ordered, limited, and representative. We also covered 3 landmark documents: the Magna Carta, Petition of Right, and the Bill of Rights of 1688. We've covered the 3 colonies: royal, proprietary, and charter. You will need to know these things for the coming quizzes and tests. Thanks for viewing. You can move on to section 2.